Good, dear students. Now we have another example about quadratic inequalities. In this one, pay attention because we have a negative leading coefficient, okay? So we have minus x squared minus 4x is greater than minus 5. And now, the step number 1 is to arrange this inequality and factorize it in order to get the roots. And then we start checking which values are going to work for x, okay? Now, we're going to arrange. I'm going to pass this negative 5 to the left. So we get minus x to the second minus 4x plus 5 is greater than 0. And then, as this is negative, I am going to, as the leading coefficient is negative, I'm going to factorize a negative 1. Remember that we usually do not write the number 1. So we have minus, because I am factorizing the negative. Okay, so times x squared. So this way I am getting a positive x squared. And then negative times positive that I have here, negative times positive here, negative. Negative times positive for x, we get negative 4x. And then negative times negative 5, we get positive 5. Okay? Once we have factorized the negative sign, here the negative 1, we're going to factorize what we have inside the parentheses, the quadratic function, okay? So we have x minus 1 because two numbers that multiplied gives me minus 5, and when we add them, we get positive 4, these two. If we multiply minus 1 times 5, we get minus 5. But if we add them, positive 5 minus 1, we get positive 4. Okay, so this is the correct combination. So we have x minus 1 times x plus 5. This is the factorized form. Okay, all this is greater than 0. Once we have the factors, we are going to solve for x in order to get the roots, okay, or the zeros or the x-intercepts. Now, in the first factor, we have this negative. We have to write it. We are not going to forget about this negative sign. But this negative sign is going to affect just the first factor, not the second one. Okay, so I'm going to multiply negatives times x, and we get negative x. And then negative times minus 1 times minus 1, we get positive 1. Okay, and then we solve for x. So we have minus x equals minus 1. And then we continue solving for x because x must be positive. So we multiply both sides by minus 1. So we get x equals positive 1. Okay, so we have our first root in positive 1 here. The other one, we are going to solve for x in the second factor, and we get x plus 5 equals 0, and then x equals minus 5. So here in minus 5, we have the other 0. Now, dear students, we're going to start checking. First of all, I want you to check the inequality here. And I want you to think, are we going to plot here a whole or a full dot? As we don't have the line for the or equal, we are going to have a whole in both roots. Okay, good. Now, we're going to start checking for numbers which are less than the smallest root, which is minus 5. I think we can take minus 6. So, when x equals minus 6 here, okay, so we substitute, instead of x, we write minus 6. Remember that you can take the factorized form or the original one, okay? And then you get if it is true or false. You also can take this one, okay? Now, I'm going to take the factorized form because I think it is easier, but you can decide, okay? So we have minus, and then x, which is in this case minus 6, and then minus 1 that I have here times minus 6 plus 5, which is the other factor, is greater than 0. And we check. We do all the calculations. We have minus. Minus 6 minus 1, minus 7. Minus 6 plus 5, minus 1. Then we multiply, dear students, careful. Negative times negative, positive. Positive times negative, negative. Okay, that's why we are getting something negative here. And then 7 times 1, 7. So negative 7 is greater than 0? No, this is false. So we know now that this part of the x-axis is not going to be part of the solution, okay? Then, in the next step, we take one value which is between -5 and 1. -5 and 1 not included, remember. So we can take the 0 because it is easy for us to do calculations. Now, when x equals 0, and we substitute it in x. Okay, so we have minus. And minus 0 minus 1 times 0 plus 5. So we get minus times minus 1 times 5. As we have negative times negative, positive. Positive times positive, positive here in the end. 1 times 5, 5. So we have positive 5 is greater than 0. Yes, this is true. So now we know that this part is, this interval is part of the solution from -5 to 1, but -5 and 1 not included. And then we continue. In the last step, we are going to take one value which is greater than the greatest root, which is 1. So we are going to take the number 2. So when x equals 2, and we substitute it in x, so we have minus. And then 2 minus 1, 1. 2 plus 5, 7. And then we multiply 1 times 7, 7. And as this is negative, we have in the end negative 7. Is greater than 0? No, this is false. So this other part of the coordinate plane is not going to be part of the solution. Okay? Now look, as we have a negative leading coefficient, the parabola could be like this one. Something like this. Okay? And we know that all the values that are included in this part of the parabola are part of the solution, but not this other part of the parabola. Because here the parabola is taking the values which are, in this case, less than the smallest root, and in this other one, they are greater than the greatest root. Okay? Good, dear students. Take care, stay at home, and see you in the next tutorial. Have a great day. Bye.